When a person fails to achieve their goals, people around them say, "You should have listened to your inner voice. You caught the wrong path. If you had listened to your inner self, you would never have strayed from your path." Almost everyone has experienced this at least once in their life. And after hearing this, our mind might think, "I should have listened to my inner voice. I reduced its importance. How can I be successful if I don't listen to my inner self? If these people are right and I couldn't hear the voice of my inner self, then what exactly is the voice of the inner self? How can we hear it? How can we determine if the voice that arises from within us is indeed the voice of our inner self? This story I'm about to tell you today will reveal a method through which you can listen to the voice of your inner self and make decisions for a better life. By listening to the voice of your inner self, you can make decisions for a good life. But before you continue with this story, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Now let's start the story. Once upon a time, Lord Gautam Buddha was walking with some of his disciples, begging for alms in a village. It was evening, and birds were flying back to their nests. His disciples while walking were lost in deep meditation, and Buddha heard the sound of someone running. The sound was coming from the nearby bushes. Buddha immediately gestured to his disciples to stop and began moving toward the bushes. His disciples were puzzled, but Buddha continued moving towards the bushes. Behind the bushes, Buddha saw a man standing. In front of him was a deep valley, and he was crying bitterly. He was about to step forward towards the valley when Buddha called out to him from behind. Buddha said, "Young man, it seems you have come here with the intention of committing suicide. But before you do that, can you do a favor for these monks of mine? At least do a good deed before you die." The man, looking at Buddha's face, asked, "What can I do for them?" Upon hearing this, Buddha replied, "Tell them the reason behind your intention to commit suicide so that they never make the same mistake in the future." Upon hearing this, the man's face changed. This statement created a moment of silence, and then Buddha continued speaking. The man moved back and began to speak. He said, 10 years ago, I used to be a farmer. I would do farming and take care of my home. During that time, I had less money, but still, my family managed to get by comfortably. However, my wife would often nag me, asking how we would provide for our growing children. She would say, "Won't you earn more money?" This worried me. Our income from farming was sufficient, but now, as our children are growing up, their education expenses are increasing. From where will we arrange the funds? How will we earn enough? Listening to this every day, I became disturbed and started worrying about it. I wanted a way, a path through which I could attain wealth, peace, and comfort. Then one day, a voice emerged from within me. It said, "You have an amazing skill for business within you." When this thought entered my mind, I made up my mind to sell my land and start a business. I had complete faith that I would succeed in business. I was determined to go into business because that voice originated from my inner self, my soul. So, even when I couldn't arrange funds by selling all my land, I decided to borrow money from my relatives and friends. In this way, I started my business, but I didn't know who would notice my business in the beginning. To kickstart my business and gain recognition, I began giving products on credit. But the more credit I gave, the more my wealth diminished. In the end, I had given so much credit that I no longer had the capacity to lend. When I asked those people to return my money, they refused to do so, and all the money I had borrowed from my relatives and friends also created pressure on me. I had no money left to give to anyone. The land I had was already sold. Now, what could I do? Then, my inner soul guided me and said, "This world is no longer for you. The time has come to end it. So, go ahead, leave this world, commit suicide, and listen to the voice within you." So, after listening to my inner voice, I have come here to commit suicide." The disciples were listening attentively to his words. Then Buddha asked the man, "Young man, tell me one thing. The voice you heard before starting your business and the voice that is now urging you to commit suicide, was it the voice of your inner soul? How can you be sure that it was the voice of your inner soul?" The young man thought for a moment and replied, "Yes, Buddha, it was a deep voice. I had complete faith in that thought, and I believe that it was the voice of my inner soul," the man said. Hearing this, Buddha asks, if it was the voice of the inner soul, should it not come from the soul itself? Do you know the exact location of your soul in your body? Do you know in which part of your body your soul resides? Upon hearing the question, the man was taken aback. He had never imagined that someone would ask him such a question. Responding with a hesitant answer, the man said, "Yes, Buddha, the soul exists in everyone, and it resides within the body." Buddha says, "There is no evidence of the soul's existence, so what evidence do you have that the voice you hear is the voice of your inner soul? Can you truly listen to the voice of your inner soul? If there is no evidence of the existence of the soul, then what evidence do you have for the voice of the inner soul? How can you listen to your inner soul's voice with such certainty? It was not the voice of the inner soul, but the voice of your mind that you heard. It was the plan of your mind. You got trapped and now you don't know the way out, so your mind gave you the idea to commit suicide. Always remember, your inner soul will never teach you a path of violence. The soul is pure, it is pristine. How can it send anyone down a path of violence? And you, choosing the path of self-destruction, making the decision to follow the path of violence. Upon hearing the answer, the man's mind felt a little relief. He became eager to talk to Buddha and continue the conversation. After that, the man asked, "Sir, you seem to be very knowledgeable to me. Can you show me a way to hear the voice of my inner soul so that I can out of my life's darkness?" Buddha says, "No other person can make you hear the voice of your inner soul. The soul is yours, and you will only need to hear the voice of your inner soul. No one else can make you hear the voice of your inner soul, except you. If they claim to make you hear it, they are lying. It would be an illusion. If you truly want to hear the voice of your inner soul, you must be alert. You need to gather your enthusiasm. Until now, you have been living your life in a dormant state, but to hear the voice of your inner soul, you need to awaken. Right now, you don't even hear the chirping of these birds. You can't even feel the touch of anyone. You don't even feel the touch of your hand. Currently, you are at a very low level of conscious. First, you need to increase your consciousness. You need to fill yourself with awareness, and for that, you need to be in the present moment. You have to live, and then you will be able to feel the gusts of these winds, the chirping of these birds, rays of the sun, and the flow of the river. At that time, you will start feeling these experiences. For that, practice continuously, practice the discipline of meditation. With the practice of meditation, your mind becomes pure, and your mind becomes calm. Saying this, Buddha picks up a stone and throws it into a nearby pond. After throwing it, Buddha asks the man, "What moment did you see in the pond now?" The man says, "I saw that a stone went into the pond, created ripples, and it sank into it." Hearing this, Buddha says, "You saw everything from the top, but you don't know what is happening beneath the water. Till the time algae from the water is removed, you won't know what is happening beneath the water." In the same way, our mind is surrounded by a web of thoughts. The thoughts which have covered our consciousness don't allow us to dive deep into our inner consciousness. And once one algae of thoughts is removed from our mind, then we can see water. And when the water is clear, then our mind will also become pure, and we will be filled with compassion and sensitivity. Then, the gusts of wind will bring us joy. Remember, by focusing on your mind thoughts, they will become calm, and practice divine love to purify your mind. The man said, I have never heard about divine love before. What does it mean? Buddha replied, divine love is not bound by any material object or connected to any desire. It is all-encompassing, it is for everyone, for birds, flowers, animals, humans, trees, and all. When love begins to fill your mind, it becomes divine love. If you want to practice it, when you have time, sit alone, and imagine you are like a tree sending waves of love, and in return, that tree is also sending waves of love to you. As you continue to practice, divine love will begin to emerge, and slowly, that divine love will be everywhere, for everyone. After that, you will start getting glimpses of your soul and the inner voice. But to achieve that, you will need to remove your mind from the web of thoughts, which is possible through the practice of meditation and divine love. After listening to this talk, that man falls at Buddha's feet and asks for forgiveness for contemplating suicide. Friends, learn about divine love and how to practice it. As we discussed in this story, please share your experiences and thoughts in the comments section. Share your insights and any questions or issues you have. We look forward to meaningful comments. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon. Let's meet in the next video. Until then, stay blissful.